Today's Total Soccer Show is sponsored by Enclosed, the high-end designer lingerie subscription service. If you're looking to either get or give the gift of designer lingerie for yourself or your significant other, Enclosed has you covered. Not fully covered, but covered very tastefully in all the right places. Here's how it works. You choose a style that you might like or you think your partner might like, and Enclosed does the rest. The sizing guide is very helpful. 98% of the time, 98%, the sizing is a perfect fit. If it's not, Enclosed will fix it. If you go to enclosedlingerie.com, you can get $35 off any multi-month subscription. $35 off any multi-month subscription to enclosedlingerie.com by using the discount code TSS. Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by the man who always pulls it out in the second leg. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. It's been an interesting week of the Champions League. An interesting 2 weeks, I should say.
Sure has. Okay, another unexpected result. I would argue Liverpool going away to Bayern Munich and kind of running the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. That said, I think when we did...
stopping the Bayern show. How about that?
Well, except that when we did our review last time, we were both sort of surprised that Liverpool, or that Bayern kind of didn't go at Liverpool more, that we felt like maybe they'll be happier with like the point and the 0-0 draw.
They came to Anfield to like shut it down. Right?
Yeah. But it still felt like maybe there were some opportunities missed given the vulnerabilities that Liverpool had.
No Van Dijk, he was suspended in the first leg. Yeah.
So
he was very much back in the second leg.
He sure was. And I do think that maybe... We sort of looked at like then we looked at this game as maybe the game at Anfield was an opportunity missed for Bayern, and in some ways it did feel almost like these were played in the opposite. That the first leg was played at Bayern Munich, the second leg was played at Anfield, even though that obviously wasn't the case.
Maybe everybody's geotags were broken.
That could be.
It's an error in the code.
Yeah, but I'll also say not a good 2 weeks for Bundesliga clubs in the Champions League.
Oh yeah,
Schalke,
bye,
Dortmund, Bayern Munich, all out.
Wow,
yeah.
And Schalke out in embarrassing fashion.
Bad, yeah.
Dortmund kind of got embarrassed in the first leg against Spurs. Right? Jan Vertonghen turned into Roberto Carlos for a bit.
I feel like it was like 17 or 18 goals for teams playing against German opposition. And it was all English teams too, knocking them out. So there you go. One more step in that direction.
Oh wow, we don't need to reignite that rivalry.
No, probably not. Probably not.
Shall we get into the specifics
of
what happened at the Allianz Arena?
Sure.
Yeah. At the Allianz Arena, where Bayern just seemed unable to go at Liverpool.
Yes.
Yes.
Or unwilling, maybe both. That was what was so strange about this, is that knowing that Bayern definitely couldn't afford to draw 1-1, having the first game being 0-0 away.
Yeah.
That when it was very clear that Bayern needed to get another goal, be it at 1-1 or even when they were down 2-1, there just never felt like there was urgency. And so certainly, I'm not trying to take anything away from Liverpool. It was a very well executed game plan.
I mean, our plan here, I think, based on our earlier pre-show conversation, is to get into the tactical specifics of how Liverpool shut this down. Yeah.
But I do think there were moments, especially in the first half, when Liverpool, right around when Henderson gets hurt especially, you see Klopp screaming at his team and telling them to push up, and they're clearly not doing what he wants.
He did a swear.
And he did a swear. And then on top of that, there was one sequence where I think they regained possession 4 or 5 times in maybe 2 minutes. And
Liverpool or Bayern?
Liverpool, maybe in 1 minute, and gave the ball back immediately because they were so frenetic in the way they were trying to play that they couldn't connect passes.
Yeah.
And if you're Bayern and that team and the other team is kind of playing in this way that their coach clearly isn't satisfied, they're not keeping the ball, it does feel like you could have easily calmed it down, settled it down, and then slowly kind of gained momentum. And instead, it
maybe that was the plan.
Maybe, but it felt like they just kind of gave it right back to them. Okay, well, you guys are going to try to force the ball through. Well, then we're going to force the ball through. And it didn't really make sense to me because, and as I said, when they were chasing, it was still Bayern sort of looking like, we'll go for it later on. We'll go for it later on.
All right, I want to get into what I think Liverpool did really effectively. I think they stopped Bayern building out of the back.
Okay, how do you think they did that?
I think it was the front three. I think it was Salah, Firmino, Mane. With the midfield three behind them, they cut off all the angles and squeezed them over to the side. Right? They put essentially cornered them several times.
But I guess my question then is, like, but isn't that what Liverpool always do? Like, aren't we kind of praising them for doing the thing that they do? Or did you feel like there was a nuance or something different to this?
Well, I mean, okay, there are a couple of things they've put in, right? There's the full-on heavy metal football thing where they just come after you and they're going to win the ball back immediately and charge at you. Bit less of that this season, right? Then there's the other thing we've seen them do a lot, which is where they keep the three midfielders central, so they kind of clog the middle. And then they have the wingers, Mane and Salah and Mane, funnel you back towards the middle, right? And then everything goes towards the middle, and then they tend to win the ball back there. This time, I felt like they tended to pin Bayern Munich over on one side. So if like the right2-back has the ball, I guess it's Sula, Liverpool are shifted over to that side. Like the three midfielders are over that side. Two of the three forwards are over that side. And then the thing I kept seeing was, especially early on, weirdly, Sadio Mane on the opposite side to where he normally is. He's on the right side. And he's making sure that ball cannot be spread out to David Alaba, so they don't allow Bayern to sort of get out of being cornered. Yeah. Right?
Worth
Which
noting.
Sounds simple, but they really not 85% effective in preventing Bayern spreading it out to David Alaba and going down that other wing.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah? And I just wanted to clarify, they did switch Mane and Salah a couple different times. So if you're wondering, like, no, he didn't play on the right, he scored a goal on the left.
They went
That's
back and
true,
forth, right?
But they did rotate a lot. And I would say Mane probably, I feel like from rewatching it, the better of the two when it comes
100%.
to cutting off those angles.
Yeah.
When they did switch, Salah a couple times gave up too easily that ball to David Alaba. So I would agree with everything you said. It's just that I'm still then confused because that's not that different than anything we see Liverpool do. They do it very well, don't get me wrong. But so then for Bayern to sort of have very few answers and to seem almost unprepared for that approach from Liverpool, it makes this loss even more indefensible in my mind because it's not as though Liverpool suddenly came out in like a back three and only had two forwards and Bayern never saw that coming. You could have sort of easily game planned for this and had alternative solutions. And instead, again, it just felt like Bayern were sort of like, all right, well, you've pinned us in. I guess we'll just hoof it long and hope for something to happen.
Yeah, well, here's my theory, is that Bayern are kind of used to being the dominant team.
That would make sense.
And they can play their way through trouble, right? Teams can, Mainz, maybe next week, can bring some sort of defensive shape to say, hey, Bayern, we're going to try and stop you playing out of the back. Yeah. And just like quality will shine through. Thiago will drop a couple moves. He will like break the lines, find the way through. And Bayern will be away, right, into the attack. I think Liverpool, they were so good at preventing Bayern from moving from our defence has the ball, what's next, that I don't know, Bayern just kind of assumed that they would eventually get through that. Liverpool didn't let them because they did the job of shutting it down from the front so absolutely perfectly.
Yeah. And I think the problem with assuming that, I would agree with you completely, but I think the problem with assuming is that it's not necessarily based on anything. And so when you do suddenly kind of get hit a few times, you're like, no. Like, I assume, like, have you ever had that thing where you just made up in your mind when you were in school that, like, oh, today's going to be an easy day. Like, we're not going to do much in school. I don't know why I thought that. And then you get there and like, oh, no, we're doing quizzes. And like, yeah, it's a normal school day. What are you talking about? Like, it felt like that, where Bayern were just sort of like, oh, wait, hold on, you're doing what now? Like, oh, okay. And then because it was an assumption as opposed to maybe preparation, it then felt like Bayern, especially near the end of the game, just sort of relaxed into a like, all right, well, I guess this is how it's going to be. And it was
a limp finish, right?
Yeah, it didn't feel like there was much of a fight back and much determination and much belief.
Maybe just credit Liverpool with basically throttling Bayern.
Killing the life.
So they were just like so demoralized by the end that they had no belief that that anything would come off. And I want to draw down into just to the specifics of what Jurgen Klopp did, I think, in deploying his front three. We talked about like Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah switching sides. They don't normally do that, right? Sadio Mane normally is the left side and Mohamed Salah is the right side, Firmino in the middle, when they go with the classic front three. I honestly think that's Klopp thinking it through, thinking David Alaba is the threat. He's going to be attacking from left back. Rafinha is not even a poor man's Joshua Kimmich, right? He's just the guy who's playing because Kimmich is suspended. He's not a threat to the opposition, maybe a threat to himself. We'll talk about that later. So having Sadio Mane spend some time on the right where he's blocking that outlet pass to David Alaba, I think is an excellent like attention to detail tactical shift that Jurgen Klopp pulled off. And again, Bayern didn't have an answer to it.
Yeah.
Except to keep trying to hit the ball out there. Maybe to hit it long to Frank Ribery, and Trent Alexander-Arnold gets in the way basically every time.
I mean, I do think that you see like the plan B of Bayern there. Of it did feel like it was sort of, we know Liverpool are going to press. They're going to try to keep us on one side of the field.
Yeah.
But if we have that outlet pass to David Alaba, then he has the technical ability and the pace to get that ball forward.
Yeah.
Even if he comes under pressure.
And he does if you can get it to him.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like, so then I think their plan was we can get it to him. He can get forward. That will probably pull people out. Then he has the ability to play a ball through. And even if we can't get it to him, then maybe we look long to Frank Ribery. And it felt like and if we can't became their norm. And so it was a lot of over the top for Frank Ribery. Sometimes it was on, sometimes it worked. Even then, it didn't end up in a goal or anything like that. Most of the time, Trent Alexander-Arnold shut it down.
And I would argue Liverpool even had a plan for that. And it wasn't just like, let's assume that Trent Alexander-Arnold is awesome and we'll get the best of Frank Ribery. There's also, when we rewatch, you see Giorgio Wijnaldum so often sprinting over there to provide cover for Trent Alexander-Arnold, right?
Yeah.
They had sort of so in the end, it ends up being essentially 2 versus 3 down that side, because it's David Alaba hoping for the ball, but Sadio Mane, sometimes Mohamed Salah as well, has cut off the angle to him, so he's just out of it. And then it's Giorgio Wijnaldum covering the space in between, and then being able to help out when it's Trent Alexander-Arnold versus Frank Ribery, right? So there's just no way Bayern are winning that battle down that flank.
Yeah. And again, I'm going back to the school analogy for whatever reason. Maybe I'm having nightmares that I'm forgetting about. But like, it reminded me
Frank Ribery wasn't wearing his underwear.
No, not so much. That would be a nightmare for sure. But no, it's more of the like when you would have the exam and you would think you would be prepared and you'd think you'd be ready, and then there'd be that kid who was like, "Oh, you don't know about this? Like, oh, you didn't study that?"
Yeah.
And it's suddenly like, "Oh no, I've missed a whole thing." And again, like
that kid Giorgio Wijnaldum.
Kind of, yeah. That like when Bayern would occasionally be able to pull off what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
It was, when Alden slides over 15 yards, and it kind of nullified that entire approach.
Yeah.
So it did feel like this was a game when Liverpool had answers for most of the questions that Bayern were able to ask, and they were pretty satisfactory answers as well.
And I would then say one of the answers that Bayern did not have is how to play out of pressure.
Yep.
And I think their sort of midfield base of Thiago, capable of playing out of pressure, right? I'm going to say we called him a poor man's Xavi, which I think is fair.
You said a meaner word than poor, but sure.
Yeah, well, this is more family friendly. Javi Martinez next to him, very much a destroyer. He's not a guy who's going to be breaking the lines with passes when space is really tight. There's just not enough passing talent between the two of them to break through a really well-organised midfield. Thiago and a buddy who can also do Thiago Alcantara things, maybe then you can start breaking the lines. Thiago and Javi Martinez, I don't think so.
Yeah, but I think I would agree with that. But then it was also, for me, that Thiago had a kind of a bad game.
Yeah.
That it felt like he got frustrated at times. He got a silly yellow card, not that it's going to end up mattering. But then he also has, we're not going to get to the goals yet, but in the lead up to the first goal, he gets the ball and goes for this kind of fancy volley where he's trying to lift it over, I can't remember which Liverpool player it was, and he's trying to get it to Javi Martinez, and instead he volleys it straight out of bounds. From
it's
that
like
throw-in,
pass,
Liverpool score.
Right?
Yeah. So it's just those moments where not only did Bayern feel like out-coached and out-prepared, I guess, or ill-prepared, but it was also that the players they needed to sort of rise to the occasion to nullify some of what Liverpool were bringing, I don't think did. I think had bad games or had off games or just kind of couldn't find their way through. And so then you end up losing a game at home.
Here's the confusing part. First 2 minutes, Bayern went out in a hectic press.
Yeah, they did.
Right? They chased Liverpool down the field. They never did it again. So it was just a plan to like, hey, we'll show loads of energy and go after them to begin with, maybe just to rattle them. We'll try and scare them.
A feint. It may have been a feint of like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be like, oh no, we're going to be under pressure the whole time. And it can be that if you're kind of hit with that, I mean, that's the old adage is like, go out there and tackle them right away and let them know that's how it's going to be. And so if you're Liverpool and you feel like you're coming under pressure all the time in those first 5 minutes, maybe that explains partially why they were so sloppy in possession at times, was because they kind of felt like, oh no, we're going to be under pressure immediately. We've got to get rid. And even when Bayern then back off, they're still in that mindset.
And then they also had the Jordan Henderson injury. You lose your captain and sort of like, pivot, the central midfielder, to a weird injury, right? James didn't really do anything wrong.
Yeah, I saw a lot of like a clash with James, a tackle from James. It was more like they kind of both went for a 50-50 ball. Jordan Henderson turned. Didn't look like there was much contact. Also didn't look like he rolled it, which would have me feeling slightly concerned if I were a Liverpool supporter.
Oh, because you think a rolled ankle is kind of easy to
it just means like, I sprained it. It's kind of swollen. I can't really run on it.
Yeah.
When it's a turn and it didn't feel like anything went, that maybe could mean something more severe. We don't know.
If we turn the volume up, we might hear a pop.
Let's hope not. I think then you would know because he wouldn't have been able to come back on the field. So it might just be something minor.
Yeah.
But either way, discomfort for Jordan Henderson off after 12 minutes.
Yeah, because he came back on and tried to play, right? So he eventually gets substituted for Fabinho. Again, attention to detail.
Here we go.
You notice this. Jurgen Klopp, when Henderson was about to limp off the second time, Klopp made sure, don't let us go down to 10 men again. Go down on the field.
Yep.
Then they have to come treat you. While they do that, I can ask Fabinho to run up and down a bit and do that almost dance arm wave thing he does to stretch. Make sure that Fabinho is ready to enter the game and Liverpool don't have to play with 10 men again.
So, yeah, I think...
Good clopping from Klopp.
It was, but I would even take it to the next level because I think when Henderson gets hurt the first time in like the 6th minute or so is when Fabinho starts warming up. So it's been like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I think you're right. He probably wants to give him a little bit more time. He gets more instructions. He can review set pieces.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually, but yeah.
But I think the bigger thing for Klopp was that this is right around the time that he was screaming. We saw him drop some F-bombs on there. He was telling everybody to push up. And I think that's why...
Specifically the defense, you thought. Yeah. Right? Maybe the defense was too far away from the midfield?
Yeah, I think they were probably 5 yards deeper than he wanted them.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's so important that he told Jordan Henderson to go down on the field because now play has to stop and play isn't going on with Liverpool only having 10 men. But now that play has stopped, you can call Sadio Mane over. That's when he calls him over and gives him the instructions and sends him back out. And you can have everybody sort of get on the same page and adjust what they need to adjust while you're getting this player treatment who you know you're going to sub off because almost immediately Jordan Henderson gave the captain's armband to James Milner.
Yeah.
So that tells you right there, like he knows he's not going to continue, but he's going to take a little bit of time so Liverpool can get set. Again, it's good gamesmanship from Liverpool.
Is there any chance during that spell is where if he does talk to Sadio Mane, he mentions like, okay, I'd asked you to start on the right and Mohamed Salah to start on the left. How about you guys switch back and forth a few times?
There's a decent chance that that's when they switch.
Yeah?
That
I'm
I can't remember. We haven't
yeah.
gone back and looked, but there's because we know that, as you said, Mane on the right scores the goal from the left.
Yeah.
It would be around this time that they probably first switch just to throw Bayern Munich off all the more.
Interesting. Any other big picture stuff before we take a break and then dig into the goals?
I know. I mean, we can talk a few more about it more as we get into the goals. I think I was really surprised by how, and again, I don't know if this is Niko Kovac's fault, if this is Bayern's recruitment strategy's fault, or some combination of the two. But I think we were both a little surprised by how few options it seemed like Kovac had when he needed to change things. That, yes, there have been some injuries. Thomas Muller's suspended. Tolisso out with injury. But it's still, this isn't the Bayern team we've seen of old. Robin as well out, a little bit older. But it wasn't that sort of like, they can call on this guy or this guy or this guy, or they can change it up, or they can go to a back three, or they can add this midfield passer. I feel like Niko Kovac had to have looked at his bench and thought like, I don't know, put on Renato Sanchez and see what happens?
So what he did end up doing is he switched Javi Martinez, who we talked about, like Destroyer, not as good at passing through the lines, for Leon Goretzka, which I think is the correct move, but it's not like fully optimized for a club of Bayern's stature and spending in terms of getting an extra controlling midfielder on there. Like, if that's Barcelona, they've got a million guys who can come on and be that guy, right? Rakitic or Artur or someone.
Yeah, true, very true. And also, I believe that if they recognize that things aren't going well, they make a change at halftime. Maybe?
Yeah.
That change that you talked about, Goretzka coming on, is in the 72nd minute after they're down 2-1. When it was very clear that they weren't getting possession, they weren't able to play through Liverpool.
Yes.
They weren't getting
too little, too late.
I mean, and I think they still had better possession numbers. They probably had more passes, and I think that was part of Liverpool's game plan, was to let Bayern have more of the ball, have more possession, just not the way they wanted to have the possession. And so, again, that goes back to, is it that Kovac didn't have people that he felt comfortable bringing on? Or it's that he just kind of didn't know how to adjust what was happening to then make it to their strengths.
I would have got James to come deep and have him be the guy who is like trying to break the lines and play through those multiple bodies. I might have even changed the entire shape of Bayern and not just stuck with the 4-2-3-1. Right?
I mean, that's it. If you drop James deep, then you're leaving Robert Lewandowski even more isolated than he already was throughout this game.
And that's the other problem, right? Bayern do not have another striker, right? Who's the essentially Lewandowski backup who ended up leaving? Is it Sandro Wagner?
That sounds familiar.
I feel like I just pulled that out. Yes, Sandro Wagner.
The best striker in the Bundesliga. I feel like he called himself maybe.
Like
in the second best.
Like if they were desperate, they could, like if he was still there, you could have at least sent on this extra striker, said, all right, now we've got two centre forwards, we're going to go direct. We're going to try something different, right? With Thomas Muller injured, he's the only one who you could maybe call a striker. There's no one else. There literally was no other option in the entire Bayern organization, a senior striker to go and partner Lewandowski.
And maybe that tells us, I think Thomas Muller was probably more important than we realized to Niko Kovac and this Bayern team. Because we talked about this when we were watching the game. I would have bet all the money in the world that Thomas Muller was like 33 or 34 and kind of coming to the end of his time with Bayern. Dude's 29.
Yep.
Like, he is still very much in his prime. And so you think about Thomas Muller coming in and maybe being that, like, so, okay, yeah. So say
I wouldn't say he's in his prime, but his prime is at least in...
28, 29, I feel like is usual athletic prime for soccer.
Usual, but 2014 is Thomas Muller's prime.
Well, that's true. That's true. But to your point, though, I think if you took off Javi Martinez, you drop James Rodriguez back, and you bring on Thomas Muller and have him as the kind of link-up support option. James can play from deep. Maybe that changes it up. So maybe it is then that some of the injuries and the lack of depth really did come back to haunt Bayern on the day.
The Raumdeuter could have at least found some space. Maybe
the Raumdeuter.
Even he could have exploited some space if he could have found.
There could have been some Muller hellos.
Even a tiny pocket.
Instead, there were none.
Yeah. All right. We still got all the goals to talk about.
We do.
That's exciting. But first, today's Total Soccer Show is sponsored by Hims.
Hims is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. Let's talk about hair loss for a moment, because as Arjen Robben has shown us time and time again, hair loss is more common than we might think, but Hims can be a solution.
Yep, if you act before it's too late. If you're one of the 66% of men who lose their hair by age 35, you can use 4 Hims. Thanks to science, boldness can be optional. What you're getting with Hims is well-known generic equivalents to name brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. These are prescription solutions backed by science.
And if you look at it from the statistical standpoint, as we've said, of 66% of men losing their hair by 35, that's a lot of the players on that field tonight. Statistically, then, I feel like some of those players are using hair loss treatments, and I hope that they're using Hims to keep themselves looking good. I've said this before. When you've got the HD cameras and you've got 40 different cameras that can get any part of your body, if you've got a little bald patch back there and you may not know it, those cameras are going to find it. So maybe some of those gentlemen have already learned this and are already using a product, and I hope they're using Hims.
And the way it works with 4 Hims is you get connected with a doctor online. You answer a few quick questions. Doctor reviews it and then can prescribe the product for you. Then the products are shipped directly to your door. It's all very easy.
So I'm gonna continue to roll with this. Say you're a Liverpool player, not naming names. You spotted a bald spot on the screen just then, but you've got a season. You're still challenging for the title. You're alive in the Champions League. You don't have time to go to a doctor's office. You don't have time to sit there awkwardly in the waiting room. You don't have time to call people. What you can do is connect with real doctors and medical grade solutions via Hims. They send it to your door. It's really easy. It's waiting for you when you get back from Munich. What more could you need?
And if you order now, you can get a trial month of Hims for just $5 right now while supplies last. See the website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/totalsoccer. That's FORHIMS.com/totalsoccer. Taylor, bring it on home. What's the URL?
4hims.com/totalsoccer.
Thank you to Hims for sponsoring today's Total Soccer Show.
And thank you to Sadio Mane for being amazing at the soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk some
Let's
goals.
do it.
So
Let's do it.
For Liverpool, it was Sadio Mane, Virgil van Dijk, Sadio Mane.
And Joe Matip, he got a goal.
Joe Matip did get a goal for Bayern Munich. We'll touch briefly on that, but I kind of feel like it's not worth dwelling on Bayern's goals because they only created maybe that chance. And one flash across the front of goal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about that Sadio Mane goal. I think actually that will be the goal that this game gets remembered for.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the sort of most unexpected and best things we've seen for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of representative of some of Bayern's problems.
Yeah.
Because
starts with Thiago trying that crossfield ball that doesn't come off.
It goes out of bounds. Liverpool get the throw. They kind of work it around, and it ends up back at the feet of Virgil van Dijk.
Yes.
This is one where you were sort of more interested in this than I was. Not to say that I wasn't, just that you were really like, what are Bayern trying to do here? Because when it goes back to Virgil van Dijk, it's Robert Lewandowski, it's Serge Gnabry, and it's like Frank Ribery have kind of come a little bit more central. They're there, but they're not really stepping. They're not really trying to cut anything off. And so Virgil van Dijk, who can play a ball, we know this, has time to pick his head up, sort of telegraph to Sadio Mane, hey, this ball is coming, and then play that ball without really any pressure. Like maybe Robert Lewandowski kind of jogs over at the last minute.
That's exactly what happens.
But it's not much else besides that.
And can we focus on that for a second?
Sure.
I think you mentioned this. I think one of the reasons Bayern are doing that is they're scared to press because they know Liverpool can hit you if you expose yourself. And I think they were too conservative in terms of how much pressure they were willing to put on Liverpool defenders when they have the ball.
Yeah. But also then why play a high line? Like, why try to push that lineup the way they did? That if you're not going to step, like, basically, if you step up...
Well, only 3 of the 4 defenders played a high line,
this is
which
true.
is part of their problem.
This is true. But, I mean, they weren't, what, maybe 15, 20 yards from midfield? Like, thereabouts, that Bayern line?
Yeah.
And I guess it just feels to me like if you're going to step up that much, you're leaving a ton of space behind. And the way that works is that then you've got to make sure that the people further up the field don't have time to pick their head up, because if a player like Virgil van Dijk, again, can play a ball, has the time and no pressure to pick his head up and look, and he can wait a perfect ball, and then suddenly you're giving him that time, of course they're going to get opportunities. And maybe this was just a momentary blip for Bayern, but it was a big blip because it ends in the goal.
And again, it's an easy narrative, but Joshua Kimmich suspended, Rafinha not the player that Joshua Kimmich is. It's kind of his fault that Sadio Mane is able to stay on side here, right? Yeah,
it really is. And I do want to get into the specifics of it, but this one and the third goal combined in my head as really representative of what I think the problem was, which is everything we're talking about from Liverpool was they were a team, that they knew exactly if this guy goes here, I go here. If that goes there, then I move here. They knew
like Ronaldo and Alexander-Arnold and blocking off the angles to Alaba and
And 2 different goals, the first and the third for Liverpool, come from a defender sort of isolated and by themselves thinking, okay, I'm going to do what I need to do. So in this case, Rafinha drops back because Sadio Mane makes a run across him, and I think Rafinha thinks, I'll drop back so I've got a little bit of depth so I can see where he's going.
He's trying to keep correct defensive shape. And actually, if not for the offside line, he's doing the exact right thing.
That's my point.
But everybody else is doing something else.
Right, and so then it goes from team to individual, and it's an individual thinking, okay, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a cushion, I'm going to drop off, and not... I know as a unit, we don't drop off, so I'm going to stand here and hope that guy's offside. And so as a result, Mane is onside, but now the rest of the Bayern back line is kind of held up, and it's then going to be a foot race, and a foot race that relies a little bit on Sadio Mane being incredibly good on the ball.
Yes. So actually, I can't picture exactly what he does now, but
he brings it down. He brings it down. This is the part that's absurd: is that he is on the left wing at this point. Ball's over the top. He's running onto it at full speed, and it's so good that it completely throws off Manuel Neuer. But he brings it down with the outside of his right foot.
Yeah.
And he brings it down with the outside of his right foot. I think this is the key component.
Does he just deflate it, basically?
He kills it dead, and he kills it dead outside the box. And I think Manuel Neuer, if you look at his sort of approach angle and the way he was coming out to get this ball, I think he thinks either this ball bounces through and Sadio Mane can't possibly get a foot to it, so I'll just collect it. And even if he does get a foot to it, it's going to be at full speed. He's going to take a touch out in front, and I'll be there to just kind of collect it.
Yes, if Sadio Mane takes it in stride and goes to goal, which is what the obvious thing to do is. Then Manuel Neuer is there straight away in his face, doing big Manuel Neuer, no way past me kind of things. So it makes it extra smart for Sadio Mane to essentially do the unexpected in this moment.
Yes, but whether or not he meant to do this, I kind of don't care because it's still incredible to me, is that not only does he kill it dead, but again, he kills it dead outside the box. So now Manuel Neuer is committed high up, close to the border of his own 18, and because of that, I think when he finally decides, okay, I'm going to go in and try to put in a challenge, when he really does commit, that ball is still outside the 18. And I think
so can't use hands.
It kind of leaves his brain of, maybe that ball's going to come in the box and I can lead with my hands. And that's why he does that sort of weird, jump tackle of haha, you don't know which way I'm going to go, except Sadio Mane just turns with his left foot and then turns with his right foot again, because it's outside of the right foot chop again to take him away, left foot lob for the goal.
So that second right foot chop,
it's absurd.
It fools Neuer. It makes Neuer he goes from formerly at least, world-class goalkeeper coming out to shut it down to third division centre-back, which is maybe what he would have been, right? That's always the thing with Manuel Neuer. He could have played third division outfield because the way he sort of overcommits and Mane turns and goes past him. But it also sends, I think, everybody else the wrong way. I'm not sure exactly who the defenders are left. I think Rafinha has maybe made up some ground.
I'm not sure they know either, so it's
I want to say Hummels or Sula has come over to that side. But once Mane cuts the second time, everybody's going the wrong way. And then it's just turn and left-footed chip over everybody, almost insultingly slowly, into the far corner.
It's a little bit Panenka-esque. And then I think everyone is trying to get back because they assume it's going to be a near-post shot. They're trying to cover the near post, and it's insultingly lobbed to the far post. And you can see...
And it's at pace and then slow. That's Panenka-ish as well, right?
It's real pretty. Yeah. It's real pretty. And it is...
Mane with a better Panenka than Leo Messi today?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. And it's worth noting, Mohamed Salah was on. I think you spotted this one. That
he could have squared it.
He could have squared it, but he never looked up to do that because I think he always knew he had this chance. But it's telling that I don't know which part of this is better. To kill a ball dead with the outside of your foot at full speed, like a 60-yard ball, that's amazing. The then right-footed outside of the foot chop that he does that completely throws off 3 different Bayern players, that's amazing. And to know exactly where you need to then turn and hit with a left-footed lob into the far corner is also amazing.
I think the best thing is to be able to do all 3.
Yeah.
And be the best forward at making defensive moves as well. Absolutely complete game from Sadio Mane.
Here's how good his game was. In some of the post-match comments, I saw Liverpool fans, like jokingly, obviously saying, I really hope Zinedine Zidane did not watch this game. Because I think Mane has been linked. It's a player that maybe Zidane has looked at and has mentioned publicly that he enjoys. And he probably enjoys him a lot more after this game.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
There's more value in someone like Sadio Mane than in paying 300 million euros for Neymar.
I mean, I would say, you know what? I would say this. I think you got to spend that money on Sadio Mane. You don't want to play like Paul Pogba. Real Madrid, just leave him alone. You don't need Pogba. You definitely need Sadio Mane. You probably need, I don't know, like take Mohamed Salah too. Probably take Eden Hazard. Take a few of the Man City players. I'd be fine with all that. Maybe Harry Kane as well.
Okay. Bayern do equalise in the first half.
But no Wolves players. Don't take any Wolves players.
Yeah, no, leave them where they are.
Yeah.
Wolves are Bayern players. If anything. Bayern do equalise in the first half. I think it's really telling that the only decent opportunity they get on goal is by them hitting a long ball out of the back. It's the one time where maybe Liverpool they focus too much on closing down angles so you can't pass out of the back, and instead they have time to loft a ball forward.
Yeah, and it's tough to see because there's a couple different replays happening and it kind of cuts back to Gnabry running down the wing with the ball.
Yeah.
But what we think happened from the replay is that this is when there's the Thiago-Fabinho scuffle and Fabinho falls over, and then there's a whole conversation about when they're allowed to retake the kick.
Yeah.
And all I can think is that Liverpool, because of that whole sequence, maybe aren't quite as sharp as they've been at other points in that half.
Yeah.
And so they back off a little bit.
Or they get set for maybe a direct ball in there.
Yeah.
But then Bayern play it back, and so there's no time to get pressure on the ball.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think that's when, and this was maybe what Klopp was screaming about in those first 10 minutes, is that then when Bayern Munich play that free kick short, now that the defense has maybe dropped off because they're expecting a long ball, now those front 3 maybe they do go, then maybe the back line closes a little bit, but now they're spread, and that's exactly what Liverpool don't want, because when they spread, that ball over the top is on.
So it's over the top of Andy Robertson, or Serge Gnabry, puts it across goal, looking for Robert Lewandowski. John Matip gets there first, but it's kind of a clumsy touch, essentially, right? He's trying to clear it, he's trying to just block it, steady puts it past Alisson.
Yeah, and I was teasing him earlier, but really is the case that even if he doesn't get a foot to it, Robert Lewandowski, even with his eyes closed, he's going to bundle that into the net, and probably he'll do something more graceful than that. So, I mean, either way, I think this is going to be a goal. It's just, maybe Joel Matip just wanted to make sure that no Bayern player got their name on the score sheet.
Yep. All right. Then second half.
Yeah.
It's all about Virgil van Dijk. I've just realised this whole game is about Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah,
because he's involved in the third goal too. But second goal, which is in many ways is the killer goal, because at this point, there's what minute is it? 69th, I want to say,
is when Van Dijk scores.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's 20 minutes to go. Liverpool are 2-1 up. They have 2 away goals. Bayern need 2 goals at this point.
Yes.
Right? It's just too late in the game for it to be realistic, given how the game was going.
And I want to interject here to say that coming out of the first half, I fully expected a different Bayern Munich team. If not like 3 changes, but at least different tactics, a little bit of a different approach. And we still kind of saw this tentative, cautious, not trying to overcommit. They didn't want to send numbers forward.
Don't get exposed. Don't send your fullbacks forward. Don't get exposed. Oh, actually, we can't get the ball to our fullbacks, so they can't even get forward.
So I think in in the 50th and maybe the 55th, I know twice early in the second half, I said to you and Peyton, former co-host, who was with us in studio, and I said to you, do Bayern know that they're not going to go through right now? It felt really strange to me. And your response to that was, yeah, but it feels like the type of game where they're going to kind of try to weather a little bit, and then maybe with 20 minutes to go, they're going to try to really go after it.
Worth noting, I'm an optimistic viewer of television.
Well, but it's also worth noting that maybe that was really what they were going to do, and then 20 minutes to go would have been from the 70th minute on. Virgil van Dijk scores in the 69th.
This is very well timed.
And maybe that really just completely throws a wrench into the plans.
Oh, dear.
Or a wrench into the machine, I guess. A wrench into the plans would just rip right through.
Yeah, I mean, which
is still problematic.
Still not helpful. So let's talk about this corner kick.
Sure.
We watched this a few times thinking, did they set a pick? Did they set a screen? Did they? Did someone make sure that Virgil van Dijk was open?
Yeah, Virgil van Dijk did.
Virgil van Dijk did. I think they kind of tried.
Yep.
There was Javi Martinez, I think, is marking Virgil van Dijk, which is a decent-ish matchup, given that van Dijk may be impossible to mark in the air.
Yeah.
It looks like he kind of fakes towards the near post, but then ends up going back across, and maybe he was trying to block Martinez off. Martinez actually stays with him, right? And in the end, Virgil van Dijk just leaps and is better in the air and gets there first. I can't really think to say it any other way. There's no telling moment that we normally find on a corner kick where here's how he found all the space. There's just Virgil van Dijk being better in the air.
There's the book The Numbers Game from a few years ago where they talk about how like corners actually aren't very good scoring opportunities and they don't really understand why.
That was
like,
pre-Virgil though.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh, is that what you're saying? Sorry.
Kind of.
Did I step on your joke?
Well, no, it wasn't even a joke. It was just more so that like I have really embraced that idea of like I'm not so worried about like teams I like conceding on corners anymore. Virgil van Dijk sort of does nullify that, yes, because it feels like if you put the ball in the vicinity of him, I don't know how you stop Virgil van Dijk, because if he's running at full speed and really focused on winning that ball, if he's 100% trying to get to that ball to score a goal and you're a 90% sort of aware of where you are, but you're also trying to track your man or whatever, that 10% difference is more than enough for Van Dijk to win that challenge. I kind of don't know how you stop him except for hoping that either you block him off the ball or hoping that the ball doesn't go near where he is.
The one bit of analysis that I've just kind of thought of is I remember right before this, was it Trent Alexander-Arnold takes the first corner kick?
Yes.
In swinger, right? And to the far post. Like it's almost an Olympico, right?
Aiming for a Matip, yeah.
Yeah, so from the other side, it's James Milner out swinger.
No, it's Trent Alexander-Arnold both times.
Is it really?
That's what was so confusing to me, because the commentators in the game said that's why you have Trent Alexander-Arnold to take corners from both sides, and it didn't make any sense to me because I was like, the first one almost went in, maybe accidentally, and then the second one he kind of like that was a well hit one, but it didn't seem that connected to me.
Okay.
Like they had learned something from it.
So actually, regardless of who took it, an in swinger versus out swinger,
I could be wrong. Maybe the commentators were lying to me, but that's what the commentators said.
I want to say James took it, but okay. Actually, that's not the bigger point. Is just that they are serving those balls up high and towards the back post. So they're putting it in an area where it's just there for Virgil van Dijk to win.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
and he does.
It's pretty basic, but I think that's what it is. It's where Virgil van Dijk is at his most dangerous.
Commentators were wrong. I've just pulled it up. James Milner has the assist. So don't ever listen to commentators is the answer.
Listen to podcasters.
That makes more sense because I genuinely did not get the narrative they were talking about. Like, that's why you have them take both.
But forget all that.
Whatever.
I'm saying once again, Liverpool had a plan how to maximise their Virgil van Dijk weapon, and it's to hang those balls up towards the far post.
And maximise they did.
Yes.
2-1 lead, soon to be 3-1.
Yeah.
I guess soon to be being 15 minutes later. But that is kind of when Bayern finally, it feels like, start to commit numbers forward. But again, not in a. But that's the thing is like, but it's not in a comprehensive, determined. We're just going to be like camped out in their like area, and we're just going to cause them problems. It was sort of like, we'll meander forward with a few people. The one time I think they do really commit numbers forward, Bayern, is when then Liverpool are able to get the counterattack. Firmino lays it off. Salah runs through. I think probably doesn't see Sadio Mane on his left.
This,
or maybe just doesn't want to because Sadio Mane didn't play him in the first time. But either way, that almost ends in a goal. And I think maybe right there is when Bayern sort of get terrified of getting caught out on a counter.
Yeah.
And then they're sort of not really committed to any one style.
I think they're like, we've been warned about this.
Yeah.
Nico said, if we push too far forward, Liverpool will shred through us like a wrench through a piece of paper.
There we go. Yes. And so, final goal, though. Again, Sadio Mane.
Which goal is this? Oh, it's the Mane header with the Mohamed Salah outside of the foot chip.
You got it.
Yeah. Oh, all sorts goes wrong here for Bayern.
Which thing would you first like to focus on?
Actually, David Alaba's weird defending decision.
Okay.
No, let's go back to the very start, because it's Virgil van Dijk again, isn't it? It's a free kick that Virgil van Dijk takes to hit Divock Origi. Once again, Bayern did not understand how good Virgil van Dijk is at serving those balls up, because Robert Lewandowski is just off to his side. Liverpool have a free kick round about just behind the halfway line. There's a long time before Van Dijk takes it. I know when you're up against a free kick, even when it's not a goal scoring opportunity, you kind of want to have someone 10 yards, because you have to be 10 yards away, 10 yards in front of the free kick to block off a major angle, right? Bayern don't find the motivation to do that. Virgil van Dijk is then able to just step up and hit what it really looks like he's playing foot golf.
Yeah, it's just like a friendly little like chip swing.
Yeah. Side note, Virgil van Dijk would be the best at foot golf.
Yeah, he'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
He'd be pretty good.
So just serves it straight into...
Leo Messi might be the best. But
yeah, maybe. Yeah. Serves it straight into Divock Origi.
He does, and this...
But he shouldn't be allowed to do that, is my point.
No, and especially so because this is a free kick from Renato Sanchez, I think, tripping or running into somebody. I think it's when he gets a yellow as well.
Yeah.
But there are, just like as an example, there's a replay of that. There's a close-up of Renato Sanchez kind of apologizing. Then there's him getting the yellow. Then there's another replay. Then, when we go back to live action is when we see Virgil van Dijk hit that ball. I mean, that was maybe 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. Robert Lewandowski doesn't really get any closer.
No.
He kind of slowly walks back.
Is he in a bad mood?
I think
Maybe just being stranded at the front,
yeah.
getting out-muscled by Virgil van Dijk every time.
Yeah, and I think you pointed out, actually, that when Van Dijk plays this ball, you can see Lewandowski just kind of standing there, static, like, okay, great.
Oh, this guy again.
Yeah. And so it's a good ball into Divock Origi, who subbed in. Origi does very well to chest it down under pressure.
Yeah.
Sula steps to him immediately and sort of tracks him all the way across the 18.
He does give chase.
He does great. I think Sula is the only one who I genuinely think of that Bayern back line can really kind of hold his head high. I felt like he did everything he possibly could, including this one, where he is basically stepping to a player who probably shouldn't have been his mark at that moment, but gets to him, puts him under pressure, but gets literally no support. Like Thiago is kind of jogging back, but doesn't really attempt to close down at all. No one else really does. And again, this is Bayern, who are, I think at this point, they're matched up man-to-man across the back line.
Yeah.
This is Liverpool aren't chasing the game. Like, this is what was so maddening to me, is like, why are Bayern not pressing? Why aren't they getting into better shapes to then try to make something happen? Yeah. And so instead, it's Origi, goes across, lays it out wide. And again, there's just time and space for Mohamed Salah to get that ball and do what he wants.
And I think I started out this nearly blaming David Alaba. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that I didn't. This all starts with Mats Hummels.
Yep.
Because what happens is Sadio Mane, while Divock Origi is dribbling across and is about to lay it out to Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane starts like doing a deep run, right, in behind the Bayern back line. They obviously should have just let him run offside. Mats Hummels panics and goes with him, right? So Mats Hummels ends up dropping 4-5 yards behind the rest of his defensive line. David Alaba, who has been blocking off, or at least marking Mohamed Salah, so that if Origi does give it to him, Salah is immediately under pressure. I think Alaba sort of reacts to the panic of Hummels and is like, oh, he must need help, I'll go with him. Alaba comes central and drops, leaves Mohamed Salah wide open. That's why Origi can give it to him and Salah can just take a touch and then outside of the left foot chip into the path of the now very much onside Sadio Mane. Mohamed Salah does his best Efrain Alvarez impression.
Yes, it's a great ball outside of the foot, chipped in, and it's where Sadio Mane is literally pointing for the ball to go. Yes. He accelerates and gets ahead to it. But this is why I was saying before that the first and the third goals are very similar to me, because it isn't Bayern being disciplined and organized and knowing they need to hold their line. It's Mats Hummels in that moment, maybe kind of panicking, maybe just thinking, I want to give myself a little bit of space, but not focusing on anybody else around him, and just kind of drops off. And so, then Alaba drops off too, and now you've got two of your four, like 5-10 yards deeper than the other two.
Yep.
That's not really a great offside line.
No. Oh, wow, look at the similarities as well. Virgil van Dijk ball out of the back.
Yep.
Sadio Mane causing a panic, which causes someone to break the offside line. Sadio Mane putting the ball in the back of the net.
There you go.
That's quite a lot of commonalities
Manuel Neuer
between
being
two
mad.
goals. Manuel Neuer being
screaming
mad.
into the void. Yeah.
In the office, I was questioning Manuel Neuer, like, what's going on this goal? But maybe, I think you and Peyton persuaded me that he was basically just left exposed and there's not much he could have done.
Yeah, a point-blank header is difficult. I'll say.
Fair.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of it, though, it's Liverpool getting the win. It's 4 English teams going through, which Premier League fans will be pleased about. Premier League haters probably less so. But this was... It wasn't as surprising, I guess. Like we in the beginning, I think you said this was like another very surprising result, and I still think that
it's an away win, essentially.
Yeah, I think that is impressive, and it's always difficult to go to Bayern and win. Jurgen Klopp knows that better than most. But it from the outset, it just felt a little bit more like, ooh, this is a Liverpool team that are up for this, and this is a Bayern team that kind of seem a little bit surprised by the intensity of this game.
So let's do a refresher. Who do we have in the quarterfinals of the Champions League?
Sure. So with Liverpool advancing, as I said, 4 English teams, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, and Spurs. You've got Porto going through. They were able to put Roma to the sword in extra time. Ajax obviously seeing out Real Madrid. Juve with a dramatic come from behind.
Seeing out Real Madrid. That's a casual way to refer to that game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? And then
Ajax destroying Santiago Solari.
There we go. I mean, I'm just saying, like, showing them the door is more so what I meant. Seeing them out, as in... Yeah, see yourself out. And then Juve with the big win yesterday, and then Barcelona with the big win today.
So we didn't watch this game. We kind of had it on as a second screen. So we saw the 5 goals, Barcelona 5, Lyon 1. We have no analysis to offer other than great Panenka, Leo Messi. And then the rest of it just looked like people running through on goal.
Yes. It felt like it probably would have been a really fun game to watch if they were staggered kickoff times because we were up for it. I know like Ryan Bailey had said he thought maybe there was a chance Lyon would get through. I trust Ryan enough to think I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance. I want to watch this. Then the penalty happens.
Doesn't mean he's not trustworthy.
No.
It just means he was very wrong.
But it just means that it was an exciting game because they get the penalty, they go up 1-0, I think they go up 2-0, then Lyon are able to pull one back, and it seems like it's all over the place and it's wide open.
And one more goal for Lyon means they go through and away.
Exactly. And so there were moments where it seemed like, they got that shot and it went just wide, or like, he should have shot there. It seems like it could have been a better chance. Then I think they get spread out, and then Barcelona have their way with them. And so it probably was a very exciting game to watch, but given that we were trying to choose between like Liverpool and Bayern Munich locked at 0-0, Barcelona, who, even though Ryan Bailey said maybe there was a chance, it always felt like Barca were going to go through, and we had Peyton in studio, who's the Liverpool fan. We were never really going to be able to not focus on the Liverpool game.
Yeah. Also, it was a fascinating game, right? We spent time rewatching it because I think tactically it was really interesting, part because of what Liverpool did and what Bayern refused to do, which is in and of itself fascinating. Yeah. Right? So, quick note, I know we're jumping all over the place here, but do you think maybe one of the people least happy with this result are Borussia Dortmund?
What do you mean? Because now Bayern are going to be fully focused on the title?
It's going to be it could be a let's win the Bundesliga backlash and we have no Champions League distractions, or it could be the beginning of an absolute like calamity and everything falls apart at Bayern. I don't know. I think it's more likely to be the former, honestly.
That's 100% where I am. Yeah. I think that if Bayern win this game, they beat Liverpool, who are one of the two best teams in England right now. Suddenly it's like, Bayern are back. They're advancing in the Champions League as they do. They're top of the table. Everything seems right. To be beaten at home the way they were and to not look that strong on the road, I do wonder how just disinterested they looked at the end. It will be difficult for them to pick themselves back up again. Maybe they come out and smash, who is it again this weekend? Mainz. Maybe they smash them 5-0 and it sort of is like, they're back to it. But I really do think that if it ends up being Dortmund as your champions, I will probably try to trace it back to this loss, yes.
Interesting.
Maybe I'll have to do a lot more legwork to make that happen. I'm thinking it will be slightly more direct of a connection.
Yeah. Also, somebody in the boardroom will be like, hey, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, how long is Niko Kovac's contract again?
Yeah. I mean, or they won't care and they'll fire him.
Yeah. How much will it cost to buy him out?
The one other thing that we should probably mention very briefly, because it is a slight downer for Liverpool fans, is that Andy Robertson did pick up a yellow card, a fairly needless yellow card in the 91st minute.
Yeah.
But because of yellow card accumulation, will be suspended for the first leg against whomever they end up drawing.
Whomever it may be.
Cough, Man United.
Is it Moreno?
It could be Moreno, it could be James Milner, but then I know Peyton was concerned about Naby Keita then starting in midfield, and that hasn't always worked for them. So I don't know. We'll see. But
that's a problem for Liverpool in the first leg.
Yeah, this draw, Daryl.
Okay, this draw. So this draw is Friday morning, this coming Friday, 11 a.m. British time. It's not in Britain, but I read a British paper, which is 7 a.m. right now because we changed the clocks.
Yep.
US Eastern time. So unless you're an early riser, basically, by the time you're having breakfast on Friday, you'll know the Champions League draw. I'm weirdly excited about this draw because it's got that good balance for me of 4 English teams, which is always I feel good about that. Not in a England's the best kind of way, but just I'm really familiar with those teams and I have an interest in them doing well. Then you've got kind of your hipster's the wrong word, but your sort of used to be dominant or potentially dominant European powers, but because they're from smaller leagues, they don't seem to do as well recently in Ajax and Porto.
Okay.
Right, former Champions League winners.
Like Juve Barcelona?
No, Ajax and Porto, literally former Champions League winners who, because their leagues are not as economically successful as other leagues, have really slipped away out of Champions League contenders. So there's 2 of those teams in there, which I'm really excited about. And then your classics, Barcelona and Juventus. Your royalty, European royalty in there.
Would it be weird? It would be weird because they're going to do the draw and then they're going to do the semi-final draw as well, right?
Yes, quarterfinal draw, and then you'll know the bracket.
What if all 4 English teams are on one side? That'd be weird.
So then you're guaranteed an English team in the final.
You are, but then also it's kind of boring.
There's no protections at the quarterfinal, right?
No.
We don't care who's from where and all that.
We do not.
Yeah. All right.
We'll find out soon enough.
We'll find out Friday morning.
We will indeed.
I won't be around for that on the Total Soccer show.
You will not.
I'm going to be taking a mini vacation, I guess. We have to come up with a term for this, but essentially
chemotherapy is the term for it.
I was going to go more like chemo vacation or something. But yeah, so I start my second round of...
You just keep trying to downplay it as though it's like, I'm on vacation. Like, no, you're not.
Thursday morning, I start my second round of chemo. What I've learned first time round is that it really makes me mostly useless for about 4 days, maybe 5 days. So that means no more me on the rest of this week on the Total Soccer Show. And Ryan Bailey will be back on Monday with a weekend review.
That is the plan.
We should actually, do we know about that? Or have I just committed Ryan without me asking him?
Hey, whatever. You've committed him. That's good enough, I think.
Okay.
If one Englishman says the other Englishman is doing it, they have to do it, right?
Yeah,
That's how it works.
fair.
All right, cool.
That's fair.
I made that up, but I like it.
Actually, I have one chemo update, if you don't mind me sharing with the listeners, because I think it's an interesting bit of news.
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. All right. So they've added a new drug to my regimen. I wasn't going to lose my hair. Now it's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. So the new drug will make me lose my hair. The good news is I've been told by a barber that I trust that I don't have one of those weird shaped heads. So it's not going to be a problem.
Hey, man, that could be a thing. That could be a thing.
That could be a thing. Yeah.
Or is it just that you just don't want to spring for the $5 hymns and instead you're just going to shave your head?
Hims is medically proven effective. Not in my case.
Okay.
Yeah. Not in my case.
It's going to be interesting to see Daryl Grove. Because you have never done the I'll just shave it once. I feel like ever since I've known you.
I have, but I was 21.
I'm saying since I've known you, you have had the hair that you have now, pretty much.
Like unkept, floppy hair. A
little bit.
You're not quite sure what it's supposed to be doing, but we'll give you a pass.
It's your style.
It's my style. Yeah, you got to have a style.
There you go.
Right. So I'm also not always a hat wearer. Maybe I'll be a hat wearer. Not least because it's sunny here in Richmond. Mm-hmm. Talisman caps. Thank you, Talisman caps. I'm going to stick one of those on my head. Everything will be good.
You've got a few on your desk. Go for it.
All right, enough rambling from me. Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening, and the Total Soccer Show will be back soon.